Hey everyone, I'm Eric. This is my wife, Julie. We are The Blended Life, and today we are going to be talking about...
Today we're going to be talking about only children and some of the difficulties that poses. We're going to be talking about difficult teenagers and step-parenting difficult teenagers. And we're going to wrap it up with child support.
Ooh, what do you think about the child support?
It'll get interesting.
Yeah. All right. Stay tuned, you guys.
Enjoy.
Hey you guys, welcome back. So today we are going to be talking, where are we starting?
We're starting with an angry stepmom.
Aren't
Are we all?
Yeah.
Are you an angry stepmom and are you just not told me yet?
Sometimes.
So we had someone write in an angry stepmom, and not angry, but, frustrated.
Right.
It's a hard place to be sometimes. But she wants to know how the hell she survives a teenage girl who's an only child. And I know you have things being married to me.
Stuck between a rock and a stepmom.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, the only child thing, I don't know any different.
Yes, I'm very aware.
But how does that, I guess I'm opening myself up for bullets here by yourself or others who are going to say mean things. But the only child thing, it is hard because only children have a hard time sharing. And I can say that because, and also only children have always had their own space.
Yes.
And quiet.
What do you guys call that? MySpace?
MySpace.
Remember that?
Dad jokes. You've officially come into dad jokes.
Oh, like long time ago.
At least it wasn't a perverted joke. Good job.
Yes.
So, but the only child thing, I think that's hard when only children are in a blended family and they go home to the other house.
Okay.
In the other house, they're an only child.
And
then they come to their blended family house with stepkids or half siblings.
Right.
And the adjustment for those kids is extra hard, right? Because they get to go home to mom or dad's where it's just they're the only child. They have their space.
Right.
They have no one bothers them. No one picks on them. No one's annoying them. They don't have to share anything. They get all the resources because there's no one to split money. You know what I mean? You get to watch whatever TV show they want.
Yeah, because what's happening is, and it's not a bad thing. It's just a way that things happen. Is they're being conditioned. It's being conditioned to a certain way of life. You know, as in any household or any culture. People get conditioned to their environment. And I'm not saying that. Why?
Look at you using big words. Conditioned to their environment.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say environment.
Oh, but that's
a big word.
You're so insightful. Anyway.
But it's true.
You're right.
I mean, that's the way. That's kind of the way that that rolls. Because it's the way it is.
Yeah.
And I think stepping out a little bit past blended families in general, I think that's a big issue with culture, and what people see is like, oh, well, I live this way, so everyone else should live this way, or look at how they live. Everyone's looking at everyone around them and thinks because we're not all the same and we're not all doing it the same way and our lifestyle all looks the same, that there's something wrong. I'm like, at the end of the day, most people are living the way that they want to be, or at least they're setting themselves up to be. That thing our parents, or our teachers used to tell us when we were younger, you can be anything you want to be when you grow up. You know what I mean? Like, it's something everyone told us. Well, there's so much truth in that, right? Is there not?
I don't know how to answer that question. I mean, yes and no.
Yeah, but okay,
yes
so
and no.
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, right?
Right.
Okay, so I want to. I don't, yes, you're going to be you're just, anyways.
What? I'm listening.
Yeah, it's just, we we can raise our kids how we want to raise them.
Yeah.
Our kids can be, to a certain point, what they want to be when they grow up.
Yeah.
You know,
Truly.
I mean, truly, you know, and there is the freedom to do that, at least where we live, you know. So if you want, you know, to grow up to be a nurse or a doctor or
a teacher,
whatever,
sheriff.
yes, any of those things, you're very capable of doing it. A lot of people who, you know, are not living the lifestyle that they want to be, don't have the car that they want to have, don't have, you know, the health that they want to have, whatever it may be. A lot of times it's within themselves.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's so my point of even going off on this small little tangent is that stepkids are being conditioned. It's a way that the lifestyle is, the household is, you know, and if you see your kid is acting like an only child, they have the only child syndrome, you know, or it's not syndrome, symptoms. There are, I only say syndrome because you're an only child and it's more of a syndrome than a symptom. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, it can be worked out, you know. There are things for that. It's just, I think the biggest part of it is just realizing what something is and what it needs to be or what you want it to be and making those changes, right?
Yeah.
You know, and that's a lot how our marriages are too, you know? But.
Yeah. But I mean, a kid who goes from one household where they're an only child to the other household where they're not is a different beast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But
it's that for that kid, it is extremely hard and also extremely tempting to want to stay in the more comfortable environment of only child.
Right.
To be catered to and have all the resources and all the peace and quiet. And oftentimes what happens is kids don't want, especially as they get into their teenage years, right? They're not really interested in having to go deal with other people that they don't.
Because they're being conditioned to be, they're comfortable. It's all about them.
I mean, they're equally conditioned, right? They have two households. Right. So they're conditioned in one, but they also equally have the blended family life where they have step siblings. So they're being conditioned equally. Mm-hmm. They just, I guess where I'm going with this is that co-parenting that is extremely hard.
Right.
When you are co-parenting a child who prefers to be in one home and then doesn't want to be in the other because it's just a lifestyle difference that they prefer. It's completely different.
And usually that only child lifestyle, and I'm not saying it always is, but usually that's an easier lifestyle. That's because it's all about them. It's very
awesome.
me.
It's
you
so
know what
good.
I mean?
I highly recommend
being an only child.
But I will say it is hard. Marriage is really hard for only children. Having kids is really hard for only children.
Yeah.
Having to deal with exes and co-parenting and then stepkids.
Because you don't understand a lot of the things.
Well, it's just if you haven't done the work to learn how to do relationships, and I'm not just talking romantic ones, but just to have to navigate conflict, you know, learning, sharing, you know, patience, resilience, a thick skin when you're picked on. All these things come from having siblings and having a family. And when you don't have that, it seems very wrong because it's not how you were raised and you don't know. I remember when I had kids and I had two and I don't know what is appropriate and not as far as how far do I let sibling rivalry go.
Oh, I'm like until blood's drawn, but hey.
Not always. Like you get mad at the dinner table when the kids are going at it, but
no, I'm just being silly, but yes.
But no, like that's something that as a single, I was raised an only child, so to now have to parent siblings is very hard, and I oftentimes am like, I don't want to overreact, right, but I don't want to underreact, but I don't know how to react because I have no frame of reference to pull from. My mom was an only child,
so you are just.
Only child on only child, like white on white.
Yeah.
I have no experience. So it makes it challenging to parent siblings, and then you have stepkids, and
I
then
was
you
gonna
have
say, then
all
you throw
these
other
co-parents.
kids into the mix. Yeah.
Like my head explodes.
Right.
Like I do nothing.
Right.
Like I'm too overwhelmed. Like blocking all roads in because it's so difficult.
Or you get overwhelmed and then you end up just going down a road because it's the only way to do it, and it's not like, well, maybe the kids are arguing, but now you're on one kid for it. You're not on both kids. You're not teaching them how to navigate because you didn't learn how to navigate.
Yeah,
so
how can I teach something I don't know?
Right. You're like, I just need to to solve this problem and make this stop and change course.
Exactly. You know? And so I get how frustrating, in all of my marriages, how frustrating it's been to be married to.
I'm holding up hands. 695. Wow, she's going for it.
But it's an issue that doesn't. So when you have a kid who's an only child, I guess as a parenting tip would be to keep them exposed to their other household with siblings, because they will learn invaluable lessons that they won't learn as only children. So I always am like, don't give in to kids' whims of like, I like it here better. And I know it in California anyway. We were having a discussion about on our
you and all of California?
Oh, me and all of California.
Yeah.
No, there was in our Facebook group for Blended Life. We have a Facebook group. Blended Life, you can go there, and it's a private group, so it's shut down for the most part. I'm sure spies exist, but whatever. But we were talking
the face
about
group is bugged.
Yeah, we were talking about vacations because somebody was asking about, they have twins who are 14 and don't want to go on vacation with their dad.
Okay,
and they have never spent it was a 2-week vacation that he wanted to take these girls on, and she's got 100% legal and physical custody of these girls.
So they don't have some like crazy bonded relationship.
No, and they've never spent that long with him ever.
Okay.
And so she was like, they don't want to go.
Yeah.
But do I make them go? Or, we were talking about like kids wanting to do stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, I think within reason, right? Like maybe 2 weeks is unreasonable because they're uncomfortable and they haven't spent that long, but you should definitely allow
when's the vacation though? How long,
summer,
the summer, like coming up, like, maybe get conditioned.
Yeah.
But the other thing, so what was your advice on it?
So my advice was, I think kids should be listened to within reason.
Right.
And I was saying, like, in California, right, our courts, it's 14 years old, that kids have a voice. Like a judge will listen to what they have to say and take it into consideration and all things like that. And so it's good for kids to be their own advocate, but they are only 14 and we're not. So I was kind of like, let's meet in the middle. What? You
keep talking to this camera. This is your camera.
Oh,
this
am I talking?
New studio. We're all jacked up. I'm like, look, I'm not even wearing my white shirt today.
You pointed there earlier. Okay.
Well, yeah, that's our mid camera.
So my advice was to within reason. So if their reason is that they've never spent that long and it's uncomfortable, that's a reasonable thing for them to assert and true.
Right.
So then, but they should. I feel like we always need to promote, if it's a healthy person and a good person,
right,
that we need to promote relationships with both parents. So I said maybe a week, maybe a few days, or maybe they don't go on this vacation, but they schedule more time later.
Yeah, is this one of those it's a big planned out, already prepaid? You know what I mean?
It sounded like it was.
So you can't really break that up and do like a week. Is there a way to find a way to kind of build up that relationship? Right. And then if you see
or maybe fly them there for a week and have them fly back earlier, or if they're having fun, stay.
Or if it's just like there's no harm in this, the girls are just a little gun shy.
Yeah.
But dad is like, he's a great guy. He's just too busy to have full custody.
Working,
whatever. Travels for work, whatever.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he's a great person.
Right.
You know what I mean? The kids are in zero harm's way. You trust him to take the kids. Maybe it is one of those like, we're just going to push them in the water and see if they swim. Like, it might be uncomfortable for the first couple of nights.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, this might be the best bonding experience for them. This might bring them together. And they're at an age now where 14 years old, like that's a good time to start building a relationship if it hasn't been there, because they're understanding now. They're not just kids getting drug along. They, like you said, they have a voice now.
Well, and it's cool that they're twins and have each other.
Of course. Yeah.
It's not like you're alone
Separating
one-on-one.
them.
They get to have
Only
each other
kids.
and have their,
Yeah. They get to have each other and their cake too.
But that's true. I mean, it would have been nice to grow up with siblings and have
just someone to
a
rely
bond,
on.
you know, and someone to be able to share experiences with or have a shared history with.
But that's also like, you talked about the dinner table earlier. That's also why our kids, or your kids specifically, bicker a little more often, than say my kids or whatever. When they come over, they didn't have the break like we had or the kids had from one another. Your kids are always together, and they come as a pair. They go to the other house as a pair. They come here as a pair, and
they're a package deal.
They're a package deal, and they're not twins, but at the end of the day, they're always by each other.
Yeah, and I think that well, I don't know what to think. I just try to do my best. It is hard. It's hard to navigate. So I want to get back to this listener who wrote in, though, about her only child stepdaughter. She says basically that they're having issues because mom is letting her see a boyfriend that dad had objected to.
Okay.
So she's an only child and is getting away with stuff like having a boyfriend and dad, in the other household.
I know. I wonder why dad doesn't like the other. It's got to be like Prince Albert or something.
Yeah. Or maybe just the age, like not ready yet for a boyfriend.
True. Yeah, there's a lot of people like that.
But teenage girls, I don't know. It's got to be hard as a dad to see. I would imagine.
Right.
I didn't have a dad like this, but it would be hard to see your...
You do now.
Daddy. Oh, don't be inappropriate, Eric. But I would imagine it'd be hard to have a daughter who's like dating and having to see that, like at any age, So maybe he's just, I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Or maybe the dad just doesn't like this kid.
Yeah, there's a lot of times like my son and I had a talk the other day about, kids around him and different types of influences. And it's like, well, maybe you take a break from hanging out with this person for a little bit if they're doing stuff like that. Doesn't mean you can't be friends with them. Doesn't mean that this girl can't have this guy as a friend. And you know how kids are. They're going to find their way around it. But the point is, if you have problems with a kid for some reason,
right?
If you need to make them sneak around to be friends, at least they're feeling the right and wrong. If you're like, that person's, they're just not good for you, but whatever, they're never going to learn the lesson. They're never going to see the lesson,
Yeah.
So if we don't put the lessons in place, they'll never be there.
Yeah. Well, and so she goes on to say that he gets lied to basically by the mom and the stepdaughter. Mm-hmm. But basically she's a teenager now, so a lot of responsibility is going on stepdaughter right now.
Okay. Which
should be. Like, kids are growing up, they get more responsibility for their actions and decisions and So she said that her husband her fiance, is letting a lot go. Like, he's just letting it roll off his back. Yeah.
Just getting lazy about it. I feel you. I get like that. I don't like actually get like that, but I feel like that sometimes where I'm just like, I cannot deal with this. Like, I just want to give up. You know what I mean? It's just life.
Take it.
Yeah.
Okay. So she also says that her fiance is getting on her for wanting to call out his daughter's bad behaviors to him. Okay. So he's not having that.
Right.
He doesn't want to hear it from her, from anyone.
Yeah.
She says, I'm trying to understand this is my place to walk away. And that he and his ex are to handle deceptions.
Okay.
But at the end of it, his daughters and I relationship suck. She picks apart my parenting to her dad all the time. She's one way to my face and a whole nother way to him. I told him just yesterday I don't want him in the middle, but I can't put up with her lies.
Yeah.
Honestly, she has hurt our growth as a family of 6 so much, and I struggle to find happy times or days with her anymore. She says that she wants to get wills in place, financial trust.
In case she killed us?
Well, this
Sorry,
like
bad joke. But
no,
still. Yeah,
like
but
she
still.
wants to get wills in place, financial trusts in place, etc. before their wedding.
Okay.
Because God forbid anything happened to him or I don't trust her. She's deceitful, a liar, and not sure she truly likes our blended family anymore. Right. It's hard when you're our only child in another home.
Right.
And the teenager thing, they all suck. This sounds terrible, and surely as I type, my heart reminds me she's a kid and I'm the adult.
Yes.
But without the unconditional bio-mom love we get with our own kids at birth, I'm struggling to figure this one out. I don't know how to do the bonus kid thing. A kid you don't, and then this is so important, so everyone, if you've checked out, check back in real quick, because she puts this so perfectly. A kid you don't love quite the same as your own. Help. And I think that's the crux of, and that's fine. You should, like bio parent and step parent, we have this expectation that it's the same, and it should be the same. It's just not.
Right.
And that's okay.
Who are you talking to?
Everyone. Oh, everyone. I don't know. Like, we need to put a red light. Where's my red light that the camera's on?
Right here. This is usually your red light.
I need a red light. So
I left a couple out last episode. I apologize, you guys, for Julie's mouth.
Yeah, I'm evil. So inappropriate and so evil. So anyway, I think that is, I point that out to say you're not alone. If you feel like that is step parenting.
Yes.
A lot. And I would say we both understand that with having our own biological kids and step kids, it's different.
Right. It's just the way it is.
It's nothing to be mad about or feel guilty about or be shamed about. It's just the way it is.
But she touched on something.
So that's
what she touched on is realizing that she is just a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and a lot of times you want to give up on these kids because they just are not in it. And who wants to be in a relationship when the other person isn't in it, right? And, you know, at the end of the day, these are relationships. Us, you know, husband and wife, each one of our kids with our kids with our spouse, each one of them is a relationship. So if a relationship's hard and it's just not going good and it's, for lack of a better term, toxic, you're probably going to want to jump ship. Like, why am I in this relationship? But also realize that this girl realizes there's a relationship and she's picking it apart because it's probably uncomfortable for her in a sense. You know, she's got another parent in the mix. A lot of times it's kids act out when they want attention, when they're seeking attention, and a lot of times acting out and misbehavior is just the easiest way to do it. So my opinion is this might be just her way of acknowledging the relationship, but it's not the healthiest way. And so for her to want to give up the person who wrote in, that's completely understandable. However, is it in the best interest for the family or for her relationship with this girl? Probably not, you know. I say it's going to be hard. You know, this obviously is not easy, but don't give up. You know, keep pushing on, you know, because one day this is going to come back around. You're not going to be the person who just bailed out, because then that gives her something to be mad about. Then all of a sudden she is the absent stepmom, you know, but if she sticks with it.
Well, and then it's like, see?
Yeah.
I should have acted that way because she was just going to check out anyway.
Right.
I think there's a lot of different sides to this because I don't disagree at all with what you're saying.
Right.
However, I think it's our job as parents and step parents, if you have the ability, to teach kids about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So allowing that in a relationship is teaching them how to behave in future relationships.
For sure.
So if she's lying and disrespectful,
that's a whole nother. Yeah.
And according to the stepmom, that's what the struggle is, you know, the deceit, the disrespect, the troublemaking. If that's allowed, then that is what will continue, and that is what will cement in her on how to do relationships. And so I, on the other hand, think it's super important to break this cycle and not allow her to treat you that way.
Right.
And so I think as step parents, when it comes to making decisions about health, school, relationships, like we have no control over that, right? The bio parents are going to work that out. What is allowed as far as extracurricular activities, like all of that, we don't really have power in. We do, however, have power in how anyone in the household treats us. So you absolutely have a right, and you have a duty, a moral obligation, but you have a moral obligation to this girl to not let her treat you a way that makes you angry. And especially a teenage girl. Like, you don't have to tolerate being lied to. You don't have to tolerate being disrespected. It is your home. It is your family too. And just as a human being, right, you wouldn't tolerate that from a coworker, from a friend, from your own kids, from your husband even, right?
Well, and by allowing her to do that and behave like that, you're showing her that it's okay.
Yeah.
So it's actually more important than ever to correct this behavior in your own household.
And don't do it back, right?
Oh, for sure. Don't. Yeah, no eye for an eye.
Because that also reinforces that behavior.
Yeah.
And drives that negative connection. So you can't behave in a way back to her that she's behaving to you. So then the question, we ask, so then fuck, what now?
Oh, there it is.
Like,
I got it that time.
Yeah.
A little late.
This podcast isn't for children. So then what, right? Like, how do I stand up for myself? Well, I think the easiest way is, I was thinking about this after a conversation. Eric
Look how proud of herself she is. She was thinking about it.
It was good. So Eric and I were having a conversation before our podcast, and it made me think of, like, how do you break someone? Well, the masterminds of breaking someone down.
Did they make a movie about that? Like something with a mountain?
But, like, what happens? Like, cops, right? So my mind goes to cops. And what do cops do in an interrogation room to break someone?
Yeah, they don't jump on them and throw chairs out the wall like in the prison movies.
And they don't lose their shit.
Right.
I mean, maybe some do, but, like, what
good
is it?
Cops.
It is
good investigators do.
Right. In an interrogation room, right? You sit down across from each other. And what happens? What does the cop start doing? Come on, answer my question.
Which movie are we watching?
What do cops do in an interrogation?
They ask questions.
That's right. So this is how you are going to assert your power as a stepmom and break this cycle with a teenager. You're going to start getting curious. You're not going to yell. You're not going to be mad. You're not going to react in a way that promotes her lies. And what you're going to do is you're going to start getting curious about why she's talking to you that way, or you could say, hey, can you try that again or say that in a different way, please?
I like how you put please at the end there. It's always important to use those manners.
I know. Please is very big for Eric.
Yes.
Feel it. Please.
Please and thank you.
Everywhere.
Please.
But this is how I think you do it, right? Is you start getting curious. You don't attack. You don't make accusations, because that just promotes her walls going to fly up. She's going to get defensive.
Right.
It's going to start, and then it's just going to make it escalate. You're going to escalate because she's going to say something that inevitably pisses you off.
Always.
Because teenagers just have an uncanny way of pissing off parents.
Or just a tone of voice, or the rolling of the eyes, and there's just so much negativity.
So this takes practice, right? This doesn't come easy. It doesn't come naturally, and it is going to take practice. But over time, you get curious about her behavior, or why did you lie about that? Like, no one's going to murder you, like, why did you lie? Do you feel unsafe here? Like, do you feel like we can't trust, you can't trust us? Or, how can I ask her how you guys can be closer? Like, hey, do you have ideas about how we can have a peaceful relationship or coexistence in this house? Like,
and make it one of those things. Like, what can I do differently?
Or, like, how can we go about this? And make it a we thing. Like, how do you and I move forward? And see, these are the things, like, we don't want to have conversations because usually they escalate and prove unfruitful and are hard. But when you start showing interest or just asking questions, that is how you break down defensiveness and how you break down that anger, because people can't be angry at questions. I mean, I guess they can, but they're thinking too much to keep that angry vibe, you know, that energy that's just that lion energy. They're having to actually put their emotions aside and think about a response, and that calms people down. So I think that's one really useful way to go about it, that you can take control, because clearly talking to your fiance hasn't worked, right? He's not going to step in right now and do anything about it. He's probably so overwhelmed by getting hit by three sides, right? He's getting hit by his daughter, by his ex-wife, and you. And I have to imagine that would be, like, I would shut down. I would be like, I don't even know. I would be so overwhelmed. I do nothing, which just sounds like, and he just doesn't want to hear it. And he can't tell, like, he can tell you that. You're safe.
Yeah, but I get that. That's how I get like that. You have people coming at you from all sides, and all of a sudden you're just like, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know how to handle this. If I do, you know what I mean? You're trying to figure out all these little problems, and all of a sudden, like, your head just explodes. You're like, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't, because
yeah.
That's only 1% of what's going on. I have 1,000 other things going on. So.
Yeah. And as long as you're not disrespectful to his daughter and asking questions and being, you know, just chill about it, is not disrespectful, nobody can get mad at you for that. And if she lies about you, well, then she lies about you, but you know you've done nothing. Like, you did not escalate it. So, and I think when you put this into practice, like, she'll push back at first, or she might challenge you at first, or, like, here's the deal with therapy also. And I say this because this is a lesson. Things often get much worse before they get better. People have to hit rock bottom. Relationships have to hit rock bottom. Therapy brings out stuff that you hadn't, even with kids. Parents take kids to therapy and think, like, it's just going to get better from here. That's not what happens. Oftentimes, when kids go to therapy or counseling, things get much, 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 much worse, because everything's being pulled out that's wrong. Everything is being brought to light that has been hitting. Things are getting processed that haven't. So things get much worse before they get better. So you have to stick with it, is my point.
Yeah, think of it like moving or cleaning your absolutely filthy house, or, in guy terms, cleaning your absolutely filthy garage. In order for you to get it clean, you literally have to take it all out. You have to drag it all out of the house, take it to the front yard, take it to the driveway, whatever. And then you need to start cleaning up and throw stuff away, and then start putting stuff back nicely, tightly in order. So it usually, a messy garage becomes a messier driveway before it becomes a clean garage.
Right. So now you had a messy garage. Now you have a messy driveway.
And you need to make a few garage. And you need to make a few dump runs.
And so whenever you're trying to make change, or you're trying a new communication skill out, first of all, it takes practice to get good at it. So that takes time. Second of all, things oftentimes get worse before they get better, because it's an adjustment for everyone. And it's kids have to learn to trust, you know? So often lies come from, they don't want to get caught because they don't feel like it's safe to get caught, or they don't want to get in trouble. And so there's, like, lying happens for its own reasons. And so to undo all that just takes time. So it's something that is not going to happen overnight, but little by little, a shift in behavior will happen. And it's worth it, because, like it or not, if you're going to marry this man, this kid's in your life forever. Whether it's college, babies, weddings, health issues, money issues. Do they have to move back in?
Health issues?
I said health issues.
I said health issues.
Oh. So
You've
anyway.
now said it twice, and I have said it twice.
So anyway, it is worth putting in the time and effort, even if you feel like she's going to be out in a couple of years. Yes, but no. So you don't want to live this relationship with her forever. And this is the problem, is that parents just don't step in. And then kids go off into the world, and it just gets worse because it's not corrected. And so that's a way you can have an influence on her in a positive way and show up for her. and don't engage. Like if she's going to try to poke you, don't engage, because it's just going to make it worse for her. It's going to make it worse for you, and it's going to further deteriorate the relationship. And if going to your husband and telling him every little thing will also deteriorate your marriage or your relationship. So what do you do in that case? So you feel like, well, shit, I can't talk to anyone? No. You, first of all, step parents need a support. So find other stepmoms, join a Facebook group, have a trusted person you can talk to outside of your marriage.
Shameless plug. I know someone.
No, I'm not. That's like not what coaching is, but that's fine.
Oh, sorry.
But you need a place to vent, right?
Right.
And then also when you go to your husband, I would say use this curiosity communication skill with him too. Instead of pointing out every little fucking thing she does that pisses you off.
There it is.
Maybe instead of pointing it out, it is like, hey, I wonder why she lied to us about that. Or how do you think we can help her through this? So you can address it without, if you address it with curiosity, okay, then that will not bring your husband's defensiveness up or make him feel like you're attacking him.
No, it makes him part of the, like you're a team at that.
Like let's come up with a solution together.
This problem together.
So come at it like that
while the DJ
too.
revolves it.
So come at things like that with your fiance/future husband, and you will see a shift in him as far as he'll feel less under attack, and you will become a safe place for him. Where right now it doesn't sound like you're a safe place for him, so he's just shutting down and not addressing anything and attacking you, and that's not working. So you have to do something different. If what you're doing isn't working, then you have to shift what you're doing. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense, yeah.
So, anyway, anything to add to this little
No, there's just
tidbit?
there's so much. I mean, just the part about just talking, communicating. It's always about communication. It always seems to boil down to communication. I mean,
it's true.
I know there's so much more past communication, but it's such a fundamental for relationships and all of them,
Yeah.
So I think you're spot on when you're like, just set her down, ask the questions, like.
And it doesn't have to be like I use the interrogation scenario because I feel like, how do you break people down? I think of cops, I think of that room, and they're doing nothing but ask questions. They're just asking questions, and the same questions maybe over and over again.
Do you sweat them out? Like, do you like hot room,
But
no
you can
food?
ask questions. It doesn't have to be like that, but it can be in passing. Like if she's being rude, like, hey, like, hi, nice to see you. How was your day?
Right.
Or what you up to? Or, like just always ask questions, and that tends to calm people down.
Yeah, soften up a bit and opens up the conversation.
When you don't know what to say, ask a question.
When in doubt,
it's good advice.
ask a question.
Okay, so we're going to do one more real quick.
Okay.
I can't decide what I want to do. We're going to talk about, I know, child support. We'll do that.
Great.
It's your favorite topic. Well, no, it's interesting, and it's really quick. It's not going to take us very long. But basically, so someone in our support group was saying that her and her significant other, I don't know if married, fiance, boyfriend, I don't remember. But basically it was like, so I get child support. They've been doing they've been pooling their money.
Okay.
As a household.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but she gets child support for her children, and he wants to pool that money into the household income.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was like, I don't want to do that. Like, that's intended for the kids.
Right.
So I want to keep it separate and pay for their clothes, pay for their extracurricular activities, paid for summer, whatever it is that money's being sent is for specifically her kids.
Right.
And so she doesn't want to, and it's causing a little bit of like a rift.
Yeah.
But and so my advice to her was to use the money, like that's what it's intended for, those kids. So yes, use it for those kids. And that if there's money left over, like say it's too much and you can't possibly spend all that money. I can't possibly spend all that money on these kids.
Yeah.
Then I was like, well, then put it in an account for them.
Right.
for later.
So here's the thing, and I've had to explain this to my kid before because I do pay child support. And, at the end of the day, he's like, well, why don't I have this money for this, 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 and this? The other way of looking at it is to support these kids. Yes, it's for their shoes. Yes, it's for their school clothes. Yes, it's for the food they eat. But yes, it's for the roof over their head. Yes, it's for the vehicle that gets them to and from school, the fuel that gets them to and from school, the meal. You're not feeding these kids individually. You're not heating their room individually. They don't have their own individual roofs.
Or internet.
Or their own you know what I mean? So you see where I'm going with this. So
their own couch to sit on in the house.
So this is a very hard one.
This is why I'm glad we're talking about it, because I don't deal with it.
Right.
So
for us guys,
I'm gonna sit back.
No, for us guys, this is a rough one because you're like, I'm giving you all this money for my kids, and it's not going where I see fit for the kids. But at the end of the day, it's not about each individual month. It's not an allowance for your kids each month. It's an allowance to support. Now, I have got my own issues with child support. There's these NBA stars that have multiple kids in multiple places, and now all of a sudden the system thinks that they're supposed to have equal lifestyles. I'm like, let a kid learn what it's like to strive and be a doctor and live off a doctor's salary or live off a janitor's salary. Neither are all holier than the other one. It's just where you put your efforts in. And so the point of child support is, the way that we're looking at it here is basically, I don't see a problem pooling it because at the end of the day, these kids are getting supported. Does that make sense? You're still supporting these kids they're eating the same meal as everyone else. They're living under the same roof as everyone else. They're driving in the same vehicle as everyone else. You're still supporting these kids. So this getting pulled in with everything else, and I know this isn't the answer that she's looking for, and I see you getting a little squirmy. And look at this. You're moving back to the microphone here, like you're getting ready to ramp up and say something.
I was just going to say this is probably my point of view as an only child.
For sure.
Like, that's what I was going to say. So probably, like, I see it as go to the kid, but I also, now that you're saying this, I agree with you. Like, and it's the family.
That's where it falls short because your kids aren't living some separate life outside of the other kids. You're cooking that same meal. So when we go to, say we're going to barbecue this weekend and we're going to cook, so we're going to do hamburgers, okay? Everyone's having hamburgers. Well, these kids have their own special fun. So should these kids get steak because it's not pooled the same way? But if so, if they are pooled the same way or differently than everyone else, well, then they should have to buy their own steak, but they should also have to buy their own firewood. They should have to buy their own lighter fluid or charcoal, however you're grilling, all your drinks. What about the paper plates and the napkins? So you start thinking about all this stuff. It all adds up and it becomes.
Well, and I was just thinking as you're talking, because I think one of the hardest things about blended families is all of the resentment that lives within a blended family home.
And that's where we get to this point. Yeah.
But I'm like, that right there fuels resentment. Like, why do these kids get steaks and we don't?
Right.
And not that. You have to decide what's most important to you. I guess you have to decide in your blended family, do we want to strive to be actually a blended family and we have as much as the same playing field as each other or not? Like, is that something that we strive for or not? Because sometimes, or is it more important that my kids get steak because that's what their dad sent?
Right.
Like, I think it's all something that you have to really think about and see what promotes, and always ask questions. But like, so when you want to decide what to do with money, maybe a good question around that is, does this promote peace or does this promote resentment? Does this promote blending our family or does this promote separateness?
Segregation.
Yeah. Like what is the choice around this going to promote in our family? And is
Right.
that a value that I align with or not? Like, does that something I want for our family? Maybe you don't care. Maybe you're like, fuck it, I don't care.
Oh, there.
So if that's the case, then you do you, boo. But I do see I mean, now this is why I love that we do this together, because it's different perspectives and there isn't one right way. Right. There's a million different fine ways to do life.
Well, the
So,
conclusion,
I appreciate that.
yeah, but the conclusion to that is, though, the kids are getting child support. So, or the family, you are getting child support for your kids.
Yeah.
Now, if your family isn't able to afford new shoes for the kids, new clothes for the kids, a decent vehicle, and all the things that I named off earlier, well, maybe it's time to reprioritize and figure things out. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that the kids should have new shoes every single month. But it does mean that there should be a little bit of a standard. Now, it should be a standard that should probably go through your entire household. But all this stuff is to support these kids and keep their quality of life up a bit.
Yeah.
So if you're sending child support or you're receiving child support and you're not able to buy your kids shoes, well, maybe we need to cut back on, say, coffee in the morning at Starbucks. I'm just using that as
maybe
an example.
the family sacrifices for those kids,
Right.
and that's how we live. Instead of putting money aside that we get for these kids,
Right.
maybe we just make sure that if we want our kids to have new shoes, that we as a family sacrifice so that our kids can have new shoes.
Yeah, we're not going to Hawaii this month, because we have child support, but we're going to Hawaii, but the kids can't have new shoes. All right, well, let's rethink our priorities here.
Yeah, and I also think that it's not unreasonable. Like, I think that it's a mindset shift around what's due your kids, your kids, your kids, which I get both sides of that. But I'm right. But I'm saying is maybe there's a compromise, because you're like, pool it, and I'm like, keep it separate. But what is meeting in the middle? Like, say you have, so this is where they're at.
So what
right?
you do is you
meet in the middle. So I'm thinking that maybe like you put $50 into a savings account out of child support, right?
Why?
Why
Because
not?
it's to support your child. It's not child savings. It's not child
It's for
funding.
living.
It's for living then and now. It's not a fund.
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying? So the point of
I'm so glad I don't deal with this.
the point of pooling the money, what he wants to do, and this is weird that I'm on this side because
I wouldn't have guessed you on this side
you
either.
wouldn't
to be
have,
honest,
but this is the
like,
way that you need to look at it. This is truly, it's the mature way that no one wants to talk about, but it's just the fact of the matter. Now, real quickly, hopefully your kids are getting the money spent the way that it should be. I'm not saying that you need to go get your kids new shoes every single week.
Well, and if you're taking child support and getting a new tattoo with it for yourself, or you're taking child support and you're taking a girls' trip to Antigua with 3 of your closest friends and your kids are left home with a babysitter, like that's a misuse of child support, and that happens.
Correct.
But
the point of pooling the money is we are now
elevating the lifestyle.
Well, like we talked about it's not elevating the lifestyle. It's continuing, it's support. It's literally what it's for. It's child support. It's to support your children. It's to make sure that things are status quo. By pooling this money,
you're supporting all children.
You're supporting your family, which hopefully your standard
it's not
is
family
to keep,
support.
Listen though, you're still supporting those children. You're making sure that they have underwear that fit them. You're making sure that they have socks that fit them. You're making sure that they have toothpaste to brush their teeth with and a toothbrush. You're making sure that they have a pillow and clean clothes to put on the next morning. You know what I mean? These are all pooled things, the meals, like I said, the vehicles, the gas mileage, the roof over your head. These are all pooled things. So if you're living in a blended family and you're pooling your money, it's to take care of your entire family. Now, those kids are part of it. That's coming in to cover their share of the pool.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Because you spend more than child support on those kids.
100%. You should.
So,
I mean, you should.
I mean,
you know?
also, I think I'm going to put up a poll on our Insta. I'm so curious how you guys see this and what you do and your thoughts. So you can go to our Instagram. It'll be in our stories. We'll put up a poll.
Yeah, whatever.
Pool the money or keep it separate. I'm just curious. We'll see.
Yeah.
Also, our new release nights. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so
we haven't announced it yet.
Yeah, and we kind of hit you guys with it last week, but we are now releasing on Sunday. We're kind of Sunday anytime. We'll dial it in a little better. We just figured it'd be a little bit better for you. And then if you guys like to listen to us on Mondays, or through your work week, it's there. It's ready for you. You guys don't have to try to scram through your crazy lives on Thursday evening to watch us live. We're going to be bringing back lives eventually. There's going to be a certain way that you're going to be able to be a part of that, and we'll get to that as soon as we can get to that. We're just crazy right now. It's just a season of life. But we're trying to make it better. Yeah.
Releasing every Sunday.
So
you guys will get a new episode.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So you guys leave a comment, subscribe, hit that thumbs up button. Give us those ratings. I love the rating. We've had some really nice reviews. So if you guys have been leaving those reviews,
thank you.
Commenting in, thank you guys. They're awesome. It's great feedback. It's fun to hear the encouragement. And that's really why we're doing this. I know you guys have heard about Julie's coaching program, and that's going awesome. But a bunch of you guys have already signed up, and that is fun to see and hear. And they're meeting you, and the program is awesome. As you can see, you're doing it on our show, but you go so much deeper in the program.
Yeah.
And so that's available for you guys. Reach out anyway on all of our social media if we can help you.
And thank you. If you like us,
that's it.
Or you hate us, but you're watching us, you're a fan.
Thanks for being a fan. All right, you guys.
Haters or likers, lovers.
We'll see you guys next time. We are The Blended Life. Bye.
Bye.